A fourth consecutive night of protests across Georgia against the government's decision to suspend European Union accession talks.
Russia says it's captured 2 towns in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine as it continues to capture more territory.
Romania's future parliament and government will continue the country's strong pro-EU, pro-NATO and pro-Ukraine national strategy. The leftist Social Democratic Party has won almost 23% of the vote and have an almost 5% advantage over their closest contenders. And while they've topped the polls for a second consecutive election, far-right populists have made considerable gains. The Alliance for the Unity of Romanians won the second most votes, sitting at just over 18%.
But the scores of the pro-EU camp show that the future parliamentary majority and government will continue Romania's pro-West course as NATO's eastern flank main country. But the rise of the ultra-nationalist parties is a sobering reality for Romania's political scene. A strong turnout in voting is a result of the shock result of the first round of the presidential election. Monday morning, we will find out the official results. Vitalie Cojocari, Euronews Romania.
A fourth consecutive night of protests is underway across Georgia against the government's decision to suspend European Union accession talks. Officials say at least 44 people have been hospitalized in increasingly violent clashes between police and protesters. Prime Minister Irakli Kobehidze has warned that everyone in the country has to obey the law.
ყველას შევახსენებ, რომ ნებისმიერ სამართალდარღვევას კანონის თელი სიმკაცრით გაეცემა პასუხი. პასუხისმგებლობას ვერ გაექცევიან ვერც ის პოლიტიკოსები, რომლებიც თვითონ ოფისებში იმალებიან და მათი ძალადობრივი დაჯგუფებების წევრებს მძიმე საშელისთვის წირავენ.
The unrest began 4 days ago when the government, headed by the populist Georgian Dream Party, announced it was suspending EU accession talks until at least 2028. That was in response to a European Parliament resolution which criticised the 26th of October parliamentary elections, which saw the Georgian Dream re-elected as neither free nor fair. The EU granted Georgia candidate status in December 2023, but put that process on hold earlier this year after the passage of a controversial foreign influence law, widely seen as a blow to democratic freedoms. Meanwhile, Kobehidze has said President Salome Zurabishvili must vacate her post when her mandate ends later this month. The pro-EU head of state has vowed to stay on to support the protesters and says the illegitimate government has no authority to select her successor.
The elections that led to this parliament and then to the government are not legitimate. They are not recognized by anyone. They have not been recognized by the Georgian population in the first place. They have not been recognized by the political forces in the country.
Zurabishvili also said Russia had carried out what she called an electoral war on Georgia and had done the same in recent elections in Romania and Moldova.
Russia says it's captured 2 towns in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine, just as President Vladimir Putin approved plans to raise military spending to its highest level yet, a third of the national budget. According to the Ministry of Defense, its servicemen also hit the infrastructure of Ukrainian airfields, drone assembly shops and warehouses. Ukraine's Air Force confirmed the attacks, saying Russia launched 78 drones overnight from the cities of Kursk, Orel and Bryansk. The Air Force also said it jammed about 32 of the drones, whilst regional authorities said at least 11 civilians were killed from the Russian strikes. Meanwhile, authorities in the Kherson region say 3 people were killed in a Russian strike there. It's one of 4 regions that Moscow illegally annexed in September 2022, but hasn't been able to completely reoccupy. A Ukrainian counter-offensive recaptured western areas of the Kherson region, including the regional capital, also called Kherson, 9 months later.